Welcome back to another filler episode of PipeCast. This is Maltese Falcon by Pease. Let's cut over to that blend and take a look at it. So here we have Maltese Falcon by Pease. It looks like it's got a pretty healthy proportion of Latakia, which we have here, and it also comprises Orientals, Turkish Orientals, and Red Virginia. It does look like the Orientals and the Virginia take a back seat to this blend, and it does have a mystery spice, which from my understanding is ginger, which gives it kind of a sweeter touch to the end of the smoke. So that was Maltese Falcon. As you can see, it's a nice Latakia heavy blend. So, Patrick, what are your first impressions of this?
Latakia, of course. And on the charring light and on the true light, and a little bit here, getting a little bit of something, some kind of. Is it topped in any way or case or?
So it has a mystery spice. The mystery spice is ginger, and the ginger it's not super pronounced. I think that it is a mystery underlying spice that if you're trained to really, really suss it out, I'm talking like sommelier level palate, you can taste it. I had to be told that it was ginger. You can taste a cinnamony, sweety, gingery thing going on, but to really hone in on that, I had to be told. So that is just one of those things where either my palate is not advanced enough to pick out something so light, or it's just so light that really and truly you'd have to sort of be notified of it.
I wouldn't have thought it was ginger unless you had said that, but there is something more at play here. And it's a heavy. It's supposed to be a heavy English.
It's heavier. It's not the most heavy.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily light. This is not Quiet Nights. It's definitely not Meridian. But I think that you're going to be in the ballpark if you compare it to probably Westminster in terms of Latakia. This is not the overall profile. And probably Piccadilly.
Okay. It's interesting. The Latakia is definitely there, but like you said, I don't feel it as much as say like Nightcap or Artisan's Blend or anything like that. But I don't really get anything past the Latakia really. How long have you been smoking Maltese Falcon?
So Maltese Falcon came out, I think, in maybe the late 2008, 7, 9 period. I could be wrong about that. Might have been early 2010s. I think I've smoked on it for about 6 or 7 years, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a little bit longer. I remember when it came out, and I do remember getting me a 10, so I can't really remember when it was originally produced. It came out alongside another GLP's blend called Key Largo. And Key Largo, to me, is the sister blend to this. The only difference is instead of the ginger spice, Key Largo does have some cigar leaf in it.
It's very interesting, but it sort of gets lost in there. Really, like I've said before, if I want an English blend, I'm more in the realm of if I want an English blend, I want a heavier Latakia English blend.
Right.
And I think this is just sort of. It's definitely more than like something like Chelsea Morning. But it's not quite to that level. For me, for something like Artisan's Blend, HH Latakia, or Nightcap. And because of that, I don't see myself coming back to it. But again, it'll need a second smoke.
Right.
A second or third smoke to sort of piece it all. But on first impression, it's very sort of middle of the road. But I don't know. What do you think about it?
Well, Maltese Falcon to me is, like he said, middle of the road. The spice, the ginger spice, does add quite an interesting characteristic to it. When I initially bought it, of course, I thought of the Humphrey Bogart film, The Maltese Falcon, and which is really the kind of noir film, beginnings. It really is, like, I think, considered the first noir film. Smoky, lots of play with shadow. Of course, most of those films are black and white. There are some neo-noir exceptions to that, but we're talking specifically noir film. In that case, I would assume that it would be a much stronger blend than what it is. However, another thing that kind of runs like as a through line in those films is sometimes they have like an oriental, exotic, kind of eastern flair to them in some instances, not in all instances. But I think that's where that ginger really picks in and kicks in. So there is sort of like a spice to this blend that I like that kind of makes me feel like there's a noir thing going on. Not 100%, but it's there and it's pronounced enough that I would say, yeah, like I can see where this was blended in that way. I think you would probably have better luck if you were to use something like in Bosun Cut Plug, like a I'm sorry, I forgot what's in Bosun Cut Plug. It is what is that spice? It's in a clove.
Yeah.
Clove oil. I think it would have been much more interesting, in my opinion, if they would take the same base blend and put clove oil on it. I think that would add a really interesting element to this blend overall. As a matter of fact, until I smoked Bosun Cut Plug, which we have another filler episode about that, I was really not aware of, like, kind of that extra added interesting element of clove oil. Now, I've smoked clove cigarettes before in the past. I'm not super proud of, but I have. And I never really took to them. But in a pipe tobacco with, like, different types of leaves and stuff, it really does enhance that tobacco flavor. The ginger does the same thing to a lesser degree. So I think that truly, if you want to make this, like, full arc noir, I'd 100% go with clove oil. Now, that's just kind of a random take on a blend, but I do think that the clove oil in the Bosun Cut actually added to the perception that I think that Maltese Falcon is trying to go for. Doesn't mean that Maltese Falcon is bad, but it does mean that, I think an added element would have been, like clove would have probably given this a little bit more depth than just a standard Latakia blend. I think Pease hit the mark, though, in the fact that he decided to put an added spice into it, especially because this is sort of a middle-of-the-road English blend. Yeah. But I think that he could have amped that up a little bit more, and it probably would have made this blend, like, next level.
Yeah. Two things, really, about the blend. One, I don't know, as I'm continuing to try blends, there are certain blends that I've heard a lot about through certain, people or content creators that sort of like certain blends and speak highly of those blends. And so a lot of times when I'm going into a review or going into a blend for the first time, I sort of know ahead of time, or I'm sort of biased against myself whether or not I want to like a blend or not. I know with this one particularly, I believe Mutton Shop Piper really liked this blend, and I went in really wanting to like this blend a lot. It was just one that I just hadn't. It was similar to our Orlick one. I went in sort of wanting to like it, and I ended up liking it a lot. Orlick's Golden Slice, but this time around, I'm sort of, I guess, I wouldn't say let down, but I sort of did hype it up in my head a little bit. The second point I'd like to make is I wonder if, I don't know if this would work just because of the way Bosun Cut, it being a Lakeland, but I wonder if you got you some Bosun Cut, just a small portion, and tried to mix it with Maltese Falcon, could you create more what they were going for. I know you're talking about the clove essence itself, but I wonder if somebody could get some Bosun Cut, could they make that?
Well, Bosun Cut, has Virginia in it, but there are other Lakeland spices and essences that I probably wouldn't want to mix with Maltese Falcon.
Okay.
Like I said, I want the base components there. I just would trade out or enhance the ginger with clove. I think mixing it is an interesting idea.
Yeah.
But a Lakeland is a Lakeland. An English is an English. And never the two should meet, kind of thing. I just don't know if that is what I would do.
Yeah. It wouldn't get that noir that you're talking about, that noir essence.
Right, which is basically the super heavy, smoky, kind of creosote tar element of Latakia, a dark Latakia, with the lightness of the Virginia and everything kind of combined with the Oriental with a topping of clove. Like I said, the ginger's still nice. It's not a problem for me to smoke the ginger, and I don't think it takes away. I think it enhances the blend. I just think that one more step in that direction really would have made this something that I kept in my rotation forever.
Yep.
And Pease really he doesn't experiment with aromatics too much.
No.
Or any type of super heavy additives, which is not a problem. People really love their Englishes. They really love their tobacco flavored things. And that's great. I do too. But also, if you're going to take a step in that direction, I wouldn't have taken what I consider a half step.
That makes sense. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna come back to this at some point, but I don't. It's just middle of the road. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time on our next filler episode.
See y'all.